Hey guys, in this video we're going to take you RV camping in Laramie, Wyoming, home of the University of Wyoming Cowboys. Now, as many of you know, for many years we have enjoyed making videos in and about the state of Wyoming.
Hello vlog from Grand Teton National Park.
In my humble opinion, Wyoming is one of the most beautiful states in the United States. And of course that is due in large part to those magical national parks known as Yellowstone and Grand Teton. However, there is a lot to Wyoming outside of those parks. Of course, there are many state parks. There's the Bighorn Mountain Range. There are vast, wide expanses. And then there are the cities and towns. Although Wyoming is one of the most beautiful states, it is also the least populated. The state of Wyoming has fewer than 600,000 residents. So the theme of this video may be that sometimes less is more. We just arrived here in Laramie, and for this particular game we purchased an RV tailgating pass, which has allowed us to park very near the stadium, within walking distance to the stadium and also to downtown Laramie. And it's really cool. There's a very large field here and you can just pull in here anywhere you want, grab a spot. And I already see at the moment on Friday afternoon we've got 2 or 3 dozen RVs out here. People are hanging out, having a relaxing Friday evening, throwing the football of course, and just enjoying the RV life. So here's a look at our campsite. We are parked in a field near the stadium, and this is pure dry camping, boondocking if you will. No water, no power, no sewer. But under the circumstances, I must say, it has been worth it. I love being able to relax on game day in the camper and watch some football on TV. We got Texas, Oklahoma going here, Alabama, Texas A&M here. Wife there, lunch there, and have a leisurely stroll to the stadium. Just makes for a very pleasant game day experience. Very enjoyable pregame atmosphere out here directly outside the stadium. A lot of fans milling about, and yet it's not a huge crush of people, which honestly I appreciate. You don't really feel overwhelmed by the crowd, and I feel like the stadium is a good size to navigate. The University of Wyoming Cowboys play in War Memorial Stadium, and yes, the stadium is dedicated to the Wyoming veterans who have fought in various wars for our country over the years. So here at War Memorial Stadium, they actually have an actual memorial dedicated to the men and women of Wyoming who faithfully served in defense of their country throughout the world. So it's really nice to see that. And again, it kind of makes the point that there is sometimes a dovetail between football and the military world. War Memorial Stadium is not one of the larger stadiums that we have visited throughout this tour. That is not a criticism. I found it to be one of the most enjoyable stadiums to watch a football game. What struck me most about watching the University of Wyoming play was the sense of community. It has really turned out to be a fantastic night to watch college football here in Laramie. It's really just such a fun community atmosphere here. People from all walks of life in the community.
My wife loves your coat. She's like, look at that coat.
So you guys are in the RV lot?
Yeah, we're just parked on the other side of the indoor practice facility. We played in the Fiesta Bowl in '76, so we had a bunch of our players back because one of our players died in June, so we had a memorial for him. So we had like 40 guys.
Did you play?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Back in Fiesta Bowl, '76, right up there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
This is our first time here.
So I was just chatting with a local, and he made the point that this is such a safe, family-friendly environment. People let their kids just run around and play. I really felt like in Laramie, the Cowboys are probably not only the best game in town, they are the best game in state. And it just seemed like everybody from the surrounding area had converged inside that stadium for the night. The opponent was the Fresno State Bulldogs, who came in riding a 14-game winning streak, the second longest such streak in the nation. So the Cowboys were underdogs on this night.
Oh, you out of breath yet?
Cowboys had the home field advantage in many ways. Of course, there was an enthusiastic student section. I really loved watching the game in the stadium.
Mixing it up this week. Going for popcorn instead of nachos.
This is the best popcorn I've ever had at a football game. It's legitimately like movie theater popcorn.
Not only were the Wyoming fans around us a lot of fun and great to hang out with, but the stadium itself was pretty easy to navigate. I loved being able to get up and walk down to the field and get close to the action if I wanted to. As I said, we were treated to a fantastic football game, and in the end, the Cowboys emerged victorious thanks to a dramatic last-minute play. And after the game, the fans rushed the field, and it just felt like the entire community gathered there on the gridiron to celebrate the moment. gotta say, SEC fans, as much as I love football down south, there's a lot to be said for an environment like this. It's kind of the sweet spot in that the crowd is very boisterous and lively. We had a blast, but it's you can maneuver around in the stadium to the point of being on the field.
We're doing good this year.
And it's just a little bit more of a laid-back experience, but every bit as fun, if not more fun. Did I say that? Yes. And it's just pure enjoyment, really. Really a great event to see the entire community coming together. And again, this sort of makes a point about college football. It's not really just about the football, believe it or not. It's about bringing people together from all walks of life for a common cause, something positive to cheer for, you know? And we need that in this country. Everybody needs that.
Pokes, baby, go Pokes, let's go!
Yeah, go Pokes! So I'll tell you a funny story involving the University of Wyoming. A few years ago, Christy and I were traveling with our Airstream in Northern California, and I fell and broke my foot stepping out of our Airstream. That's not the funny part. So we had to put everything into storage in Northern California, our Airstream and our truck, and we flew back home to Alabama for me to recover during the winter. After being home for several weeks, I finally ventured out to our local Costco on one of those little scooters that you can use when you're injured just to get around on a flat surface. So I had my leg propped on this scooter and I was scooting around our local Costco, and I saw this sign that said, "Meet the winemaker of Rodney Strong Winery today from like 1 to 3 p.m. or something like that." I looked at my phone and sure enough, it was between 1 and 3 p.m. And I thought, really? The winemaker from Rodney Strong is here in our Costco? Sure enough, he was. So I strolled over to the wine section and there was almost nobody there except this one guy kind of standing by himself by the wines. And the guy's name was Greg Morthole. And so I ended up talking to Greg, and you know, he asked, "Why are you on the scooter?" And I told him, you know, of course, that I'd had this injury while traveling in Northern California. And Greg said, "Oh, I'm from Northern California. Where did you get hurt?" And I said, "Santa Rosa." He said, "Oh, I live in Santa Rosa." And Greg said, "You know what? Once you heal up and you fly back out to pick up your RV rig, why don't you come out to visit with me at Rodney Strong, and I'll take you on a tour of the winery." And sure enough, a few months went past. We flew out to Northern California, broke our rig out of storage, and took it over to Rodney Strong. And you know, we thought he was maybe going to just put us on one of their little tours and send us about our merry way. No.
But yeah, this is Pinot Noir. You can see there's a little bit of raisin in the back. There's actually a greenberry in the middle. But it feels like it's getting there. It's starting to soften up a little bit, but it hasn't softened up enough and to make me think that it's truly ready to pick. Essentially, I still taste the green character. These aren't ready. So this needs some more hang time out in the vineyard. And we'll line up our equipment right down the center aisle. But yeah, this is our artisan cellar.
Greg took us on an incredible personal guided tour of Rodney Strong, and we saw every aspect of the winemaking process that day. From the fields where they grow the grapes, to where they mash up the grapes, to where the grapes are fermented. We went down and tried many different wines that they were developing, and really had the ultimate wine tour. I mean, it was sincerely the best wine tour any person could ever want, being led through this incredible vineyard and winery by the winemaker himself. So you might be wondering what this has to do with the University of Wyoming. Well, I asked Greg, how do you become a winemaker anyway? And he said, well, actually, I'm a chemist.
Aeration oxidation setups. This would be called titrating, when you add a little bit of something, in this case iodine, to a sample to check something. So this is set up for titrating. And chemically speaking, the way I've always taken it was some of them, all these molecules have different weights. And when a wine is cold, or when it's just had oxygen, so that's, you know, versus later on when it's had more oxygen, it's just in a different state. So in particular, when a wine's cold, the lighter compounds probably have enough energy to escape and things that you can smell.
And I said, well, where did you go to school to get your chemistry degree? He said, you guessed it, the University of Wyoming. But it really kind of shows how graduates of the University of Wyoming can spread out all over the country and the world and apply their talents. And I have been a loyal customer of Rodney Strong wines ever since. You know, a few weeks ago, some guy in our comments said, Sean, you're one of the luckiest people that I've ever met. And guilty as charged, I guess. What are the odds that I go to my local big box store and meet the winemaker from a major winery located 2,400 miles away in the town where I happened to break my foot? That's the thing about travel. It really drives home the point that the world gets very small when you go different places. You're gonna meet people who will intersect with your life in surprising ways when you get yourself out there. So really it was kind of a stroke of luck. But on that point, I will say, ever since the days of playing Donkey Kong when I was 9 or 10 years old, I've always believed you can make your own luck to a certain degree. When playing Donkey Kong, I discovered that I could influence certain elements of the game that at first appeared to be random. And I remember some other kids in the arcade saying, man, you're lucky the barrel went that way instead of that way. I used to say when I was a kid, good Donkey Kong players make their own luck. And that philosophy applies to life a little bit. You can put yourself in places where you might experience positive energy. You can get yourself away from places where negative energy gathers. To be clear, lucky as I am, I've had plenty of bad luck in my life. I just think you can influence your luck a bit by putting positive energy out there into the world. Sometimes it comes back to you. So after the game day weekend had settled down, we leisurely rolled out and we moved over to the local fairgrounds. Here we have the self-serve pay station in the Albany County Fairgrounds. This is ostensibly a campground. Now when you see the video of the fairgrounds, you're going to notice it's not exactly the most scenic campsite in the world. Well, these sites are not much to look at, and that's putting it mildly. But we do have water, power, and sewer. And a shooting range conveniently located nearby. I guess there's one other brave soul who's chosen to camp here. But it did have one thing going for it, and that was solitude. And it made for a pretty easy jumping off point to go back into town and just spend a little bit of time getting to know the town of Laramie and the surrounding area. We did go to a couple of restaurants in town. The one that I would recommend that we most enjoyed was Born in a Barn. So I know you Auburn fans out there would like it because of the barn theme. Born in a barn. A lot of people in Auburn born in barns.
Yep.
But it really did have really good bar food like nachos and hamburgers.
The bonchos. Wow.
What have you done?
I don't know.
Good Lord, woman, what have you done? The classic burger with Swiss cheese and upgraded to tater tots, of course. There are a couple of scenic drives around the University of Wyoming. And again, I was kind of surprised. You step 5 or 10 miles outside of Laramie and you can find some very scenic environments that offer some good hiking and so forth. So that's a look at the game weekend experience at the University of Wyoming in Laramie, Wyoming. Again, we love the state of Wyoming, and honestly, I look at the low population of Wyoming as kind of a plus. It sort of demonstrates there are still places in this country that aren't so crazy, aren't so dangerous, where communities can gather together and just enjoy one another's company and celebrate the local team and the big win. We really enjoyed our time at the University of Wyoming in Laramie, and I would highly recommend this stop to anyone who's heading to Wyoming. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying this series of videos. Where do we go next? I'm thinking south, the land of the Cougars. Stay tuned. There are a lot of schools that will line the perimeter of the field with security guards as the clock ticks down because they don't want people coming onto the field. And by the way, the folks at Wyoming had no problem with that. In fact, I think this is the first time in my life I've ever done that. Little known fact about Alabama fans never rush the field. Look it up. You can debate why. My wife hates when I say this. I'm an Alabama fan, she's an Auburn fan. Auburn fans will rush the field after beating the local high school. We Alabama fans never rush the field because we always expect to win. I know I'm going to get into trouble for that one. We want Bama!
We want Bama!